welcome to the Agile Immersion Bootcamp final show and tell. It's been 15, 16 weeks to get us to this stage. The bootcamp started back in March. For me, it's transformational, seeing my dream come to reality with these 9 people, these 9 amazing people that you're about to meet. And I want to thank you for your time today. Next one. So today, we're going to start off with a bit of a welcome, which we've done, and then do an intro to DiverseTech. We're going to talk between 11:10 and 11:20 about the bootcamp itself and the project brief. Then the first team, Team Recruitment, are going to present. We're going to have 5 minutes for questions. And then Team Exposure is going to present. Then we're going to have another 5 minutes for questions, and then we're going to close. So we're taking questions in the Q&A box on the webinar. We'll probably pick one question within the webinar, but if you just continue to put your questions in, we're gonna take some time at the end of the webinar to continue to answer questions. And then we will be posting them on our social media channels over the next week. So I am Annette Joseph. I am a problem solver at heart. I've been working in and around tech for about 30 years. I started working in digital services as a digital delivery manager about 6 years ago. And because it fit well with all my problem solver skills and all the other things I'd learned in my career before, I progressed quite quickly. But I was finding that as my career progressed, the rooms and the events that I was invited into had fewer and fewer people who looked like me. So when I started having conversations about it, I found that it made people really uncomfortable. And that's maybe quite sad, because I don't think that people fully grasp the role that tech has in society. So Forbes did a quote probably about a year ago in one of their articles about tech companies control almost every facet of daily life, from how we communicate to the ways in which we travel, and even how we buy our groceries, even more so today, especially with the event of COVID and Zoom. You know, we're all together here now. But diversity isn't just important for the tech itself, it's important for the people who make and use technology. So tech is everywhere. We look at the pandemic, it's easy to see which organizations had managed to get their digital transformation projects off the ground, and those that didn't, because many of those that didn't are no longer here. And today, every organization has to have at least some element of digital to survive. But I kept seeing instances where the lack of representation within the design development process in tech was negatively impacting lives. And I started to think about how we could change the industry. So Ever Agile, I framed it as a how might we? How might we empower talented Black people and those from diverse backgrounds to fulfill crucial roles in tech that can have a positive impact on society? And the diverse and equal holistic strategy was born. I knew that there was definitely a piece of work to be done around getting the tech industry to be ready for diverse people. There is a prevailing attitude that because someone ticks a box for diversity, that they're somehow inferior. These attitudes show up in bias in the workplace, where people's paths to progression are blocked. They show up in recruitment. They show up with microaggressions being normalized, making people feel like they don't belong. So working with organizations to empower them to think about diversity in a way that wins for everyone was a starting point. The team have been doing this work for well over a year now and have had significant impact. There are enough barriers to entry for people from underrepresented backgrounds trying to get into the tech industry. I didn't want money to be another, so I set up DiverseTech as our not-for-profit training arm. Due to grant funding and corporate sponsors, our training is free to learners. This cohort was partially funded by grants from Manchester City Council and the WEA ESF Fund. Over the past few years, we've held over 30 taster sessions in coding, data, and agile team roles. We've trained three user researchers last year using donations to the Bootcamp Fund, and this is the first full Agile Immersion cohort. Our ongoing research continually shows us that just training people and getting them into role isn't enough. So we have committed to placing our talent with a package of support for them and their teams. This ensures that the hiring organisation gets the benefit out of diverse teams and that our graduates are properly embedded in the role with the support that they need to thrive and to have satisfying, fruitful careers. You're about to see the amazing ideas that have come out of this bootcamp. In the near future, we'll be launching our nurture vertical where we develop these ideas into alpha beta stages and broadcast where we spread best practice through our learning platform. We're currently looking for partners for these phases and for our DiverseTech Collab Week. So feel free to reach out to me or any of the team for more info.
Morning, everyone. I'm Annie. I'm Head of Operations at DiverseTech and Diversity Equal. And I'd like to welcome you all to this show and tell. It's been an absolute pleasure working behind the scenes with all our students. Before we carry on, I'd just like to say, as Annette has mentioned before, the bootcamp was partially funded by grants from Manchester City Council and the European Social Fund through the Workers' Education Association. And they share our desire to bring high quality professional education into the heart of communities. We'd like to thank both of those organisations for supporting us in bringing this initiative to life. The bootcamp consisted of 9 adults who you'll get to meet very soon, with a variety of experiences in roles in other industries. We've been learning remotely every 2 weeks, 2 days a week for the past 15 weeks. So some of them had attended our taster sessions. Others have no prior knowledge of tech and had very little idea of what they were getting into. Because of the skills that they had already learned in their industries, it made picking up new concepts and new ways of working much easier. We focus on adults with transferable skills because they start with a wealth of knowledge that's enhanced by our training. Our research has shown that people from diverse backgrounds often learn about tech careers through parents and relatives. So by training adults, we impact the skills gap now and we influence the younger generation.
Hello, everyone. I hope that you are all well. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to make this very quick because I can't wait for you to just see our students and less of us. But I'm Clara. I'm a user researcher and learning designer. That haircut in that picture is long gone by now. I have a fringe, which is the first time in 30 years that I have one. And I've been responsible for designing and delivering the Agile Immersion Bootcamp, basically bringing Annette's brilliant vision to life in an education program, which has been a pleasure. In case you, just a bit of context, I have a scarf because I'm in Brazil and currently it's colder in Brazil than it is in England. So that's hence, yes, there you go. So when approaching how this program was going to be structured, there were a few outcomes that we found absolutely necessary for students to walk away with, that we were very adamant that we wanted them to learn. So we wanted them to know and experience different roles within an agile team and get out of their comfort zones by trying new things. So we wanted them to experiment rather than just find one role that they wanted to play and settle in. We wanted them to try out new things. We wanted them to understand the industry that they would potentially walk into and the types of problems that they would be solving in tech. And we found it essential that they learned how to work harmoniously in teams as well. And obviously, to top it all off, we wanted them to leave us by feeling confident in themselves and their skills. Next slide, please. So in order to achieve these outcomes, we put a few methods in place. So first and foremost, we built a safe space where students felt that they could bring their authentic selves to, where it was okay to feel nervous and feeling butterflies in their stomachs, and where every question could be asked. Second, we wanted students to experience things rather than just learn in theory. So we gave them real briefs to solve and empower them with tools, processes, and a structure to do so. Third, we fostered a sense of being present, where students could constantly reflect about their learnings, where they were in their journey, why they were here, and how all of that they were doing was going to contribute to their well-being and to their futures. And lastly, we were lucky to have with us amazing humans, true experts in their disciplines and their fields that could provide one-to-one support to students once they had picked a specialism that they wanted to focus their career on. And I just want to take a moment to thank all of the wonderful humans, next slide please, that are on this slide here, that made it possible for us to achieve the level of excellence that we desired. So to Vim, Tina, Raz, Fiona, Lauren Coleman, Lauren Curry, Alice Chance, the brilliant folks at Paper, Rachel, Cam and John, and at the co-op, Phoebe, Vicky, Neil and Nate, thank you so much. You know, you've given us your time and your knowledge and your experience, and we really could not have completed the bootcamp without you. So thank you so much. It is time to hand over to our students now.
Team Recruitment, it's on you.
Can you see that, Annie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Hi, welcome to our show and tell. We are Team Recruitment. We are going to take a couple of minutes to introduce ourselves. I'm Arpita and it's a pleasure to meet you all today. I have done masters in computer science and have pursued many roles throughout my career. I started as a lecturer in college, moved on to IT support role in an educational institution. Then I worked as a project support volunteer in a non-profit organization, moved on to building a website for a charitable organization for a year. In this project, I have played 3 major roles: UX designer, delivery manager, and user researcher.
Hi everyone, I'm Camila. After completing a degree in media studies, I found myself working in education for 7 years as a teaching assistant before I got a job as operations coordinator in the nonprofit sector. I've always enjoyed working in jobs where I can make a difference to people's lives, which is when I decided to go back to my first love, technology. So last year, I trained as a user researcher with DiverseTech, and throughout this project, I took the role of user researcher and content designer.
Hi, my name's Penny. I previously worked as a senior credit risk underwriter at G Capital. As part of my role, I was lead super user and I spent 2.5 years working on a digital transformation project to modernise the underwriting system. I have a degree in video and audio engineering. In this project, I took the main roles of UX designer and delivery manager. I also took part in user research, business analysis, and content design.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sarah. I moved from Sudan 3 years ago. Back there, I graduated from computer science, and I have more than 15-year experience, most of it in HR and administration. Now I'm trying to find my way back to the tech industry to fulfill my passion. In this project, I took a role of service designer and business analyst.
Our brief was to look at barriers of entry for Black people into the tech industry, and we decided to focus on recruitment bias. Previous research into recruitment bias concluded that systems and processes reinforce personal bias during recruitment and prevent Black candidates from entering the industry. Also, that recruiters appear to filter out ethnic sounding names, and recruiters don't see the value in investing time to provide useful feedback to Black candidates. Our desk research covered everything we could find on recruitment bias, and we gathered our information on a knowledge board in Miro. We followed the double diamond framework, and we considered recruitment bias from the viewpoints of both the candidate and the recruiter. We completed 3 user journey maps from various viewpoints, but ended up focusing on a confident candidate who had all the relevant skills and abilities for the job. We then completed Crazy 8 and came up with many ideas, some of them non-digital, such as recruitment fairs, CV and interview workshops, and things recruiters could do to mitigate bias, such as name-blind applications. We created storyboards to develop some of our ideas further. And the main issue we faced was that we knew we couldn't directly influence recruiters to change their processes. We also struggled to find solutions that hadn't already been done.
Our breakthrough came following problem mapping and 5 whys. And we realized the one thing that hadn't already been covered was feedback. We knew from the research that recruiters don't see the value in investing time to provide useful feedback to Black candidates. So we decided to tackle the issue from a systemic angle rather than building a solution for the recruiters. The output of our 5 whys were a number of how might we statements. One of which was, how might we provide a system where Black candidates can find out about diversity and inclusion in a tech company and share their recruitment experience? Our solution is a free-to-use feedback platform that Black candidates can use if they don't receive feedback from a company during the recruitment process. The platform will empower Black candidates by giving them a voice when they're treated badly or encounter bias, and encourage companies that are below par to change their ways. We've thought about showing diversity and inclusion information on a company at a more granular level than recruitment sites like Glassdoor. There's no existing recruitment or feedback platform catering to Black candidates, so our solution appears to be original. We created an opportunity canvas to develop our solution, and this enabled us to really hone in on our users and create a vision for how our product would work, and also to identify potential problems and challenges that we might encounter.
Our teamwork. From the opportunity canvas, we had to generate a lot of ideas for our product and had a healthy backlog. We used the Kanban method initially in Mirror to organize the tasks. Our challenge was to identify our minimum viable product, but this could not be done ahead of the user research. We moved our Kanban board from Miro to Trello. This had better functionality to define, control, and organize our tasks. In total, we covered 3 sprints. Through this process, we learned how to follow Agile principle to make our sprint more productive. From here, we were able to work as a collaborative team to self-organize through the various sprint activities. These were our sprint goals for the 3 sprints.
In order to fulfill our first sprint goal, we needed to speak to users to determine the next steps of our design process. First, we used a survey. These give us some great qualitative data and functioned as a sign-up tool for the interviews. From the survey, we got 12 responses. The majority of respondents were aged between 23 and 45, Black, female, and based in the Northwest. 25% were currently unemployed and 33% were looking for a job in tech. One respondent said, sharing feedback for a workplace is good to help others decide. The survey showed the majority of respondents would like to give feedback after an interview if they don't hear anything from the employer. We asked, if you could have given feedback to the company, what would be your preferred methods? 50% preferred to give feedback by email and 41% by a moderated website like ours.
We interviewed 3 people during the user research to identify the needs and expectations of users for our site. We then synthesized all the findings in Miro. We asked about what they look for in a potential employer, did a deep dive into receiving feedback after an interview, and most importantly, how they felt about giving companies feedback. In one case, our participants said that they had completed 2 interviews and a presentation and got no feedback or a reason why they didn't get the job. They felt it was rude and disrespectful to the time that they had given to the process. The research gave us an idea of how we could use our website to solve the uncertainty of receiving feedback. We will have a database of tech companies, each with a profile page. There we would show the company's interview and feedback procedure, which sets a clear expectation on whether candidates will receive feedback and also makes the process fairer. Aside from the main issue of not receiving feedback after an interview, other themes began to emerge. Our participants expressed issues surrounding company policies and whether they would be implemented, what companies can do to hire and increase diverse staff retention, and feelings of uncertainty displaying private information publicly on websites. So we've incorporated these insights into our design, and the research indicates that there is a market for our site.
Service design. After the solution started to take place, we had to do a user journey map, and that in order to create successful service experience for the user. We started to visualize the service from the moment our users receive a rejection email, find their way to our website, and go through all the process until they submit a review for a company. We kept updating it according to the user research outcome. Using the user journey map helped us to create better story of the user experience, identify the area of improvement, and avoid any gaps that might exist in the website. In order to define the different user type that might use our website, and based on the user research outcome, we created 2 personas based on their interest, skill, etc. As you can see, Lena on the screen is 37-year-old, working in Manchester as a research technician, and likes to run and read in her spare time. Creating realistic personas help us to understand users' needs, experience, behaviors, and the goals they would like to achieve using our website. In considering our service design, we broke the interaction down to logical components. We designed a blueprint based on touch point in our user journey map to visualize the relationship between the website different components. We designed a first draft of the blueprint, and we updated based on the user research outcome to the final draft as shown on the screen. The main benefits we get it from the blueprint is it distinguishes between the on-stage process, the user contact with the website, and the backstage process, employees or website activities, and providing supporting system when it's needed.
From our desk research, we had an idea about the features we thought the product should have. Before interviewing any potential users, we drafted a user requirements document and user stories, and this helped us to identify questions we wanted to ask our users. We then updated and created more user stories as the research and interviews were being carried out. The user stories created a simplified description to the requirements. Here is an example of one of our user stories. As a user, I want a space where I can give feedback to organizations with the option to remain anonymous, so that I can freely express my views and opinions of the company's recruitment and selection process, including any bias I may encounter. We've created acceptance criteria to help decide when a user story is done. In this scenario, I submit feedback anonymously. So given I'm a logged in user, when I click the leave review button, then I have the ability to leave a review with the option to remain anonymous. We met this criteria in the usability test when our participants submitted feedback anonymously using our prototype.
Once we completed the design of our service blueprint and created all the user stories, we focused on designing our basic wireframes and then prototypes. According to our research on industry standard tools, we chose Balsamiq because it's simple, quick to use, and good for low fidelity wireframes. We chose Figma for prototyping because it's good for collaborations and seems to be the tool that UX designers are currently using. This is our Balsamiq wireframes. After analyzing all the user responses captured through user interviews, we first prepared the wireframe for the minimum viable product features of our proposed website using Balsamiq tool. The key features identified for the minimum viable product were homepage, about, registration, login window, company review, and feedback submission. We then designed the pages using Figma. After designing all the pages, when we started to connect them, we realized that the version of Figma we were using so far did not support interactivity in the component that we used in our design. We then decided to create our interactive prototype using Wix website builder. Up to this point, we were using Lorem Ipsum to fill our pages, but now we needed to create some real content.
But before writing any content, we wanted to decide what our values and tone of voice would be. One thing we wanted to avoid when creating the content was our users being confused about who we are or what to use the site for. Because many of our users will be using the site for the first time, we wanted a clear tone of voice to help build trust in our site. Ultimately, the purpose of our website is to increase diversity in tech by reducing recruitment bias. But as a platform, it can offer people so much more. Transparency is something that came up in the research, so openness has quite rightly become one of our top values. Empowerment and fairness resonate with the purpose of the site, and these characteristics most align with our goals. We did some quick research on brand personas to narrow down on what our brand personality would be. And this really helped us focus on how to achieve that balance of being informative without being too formal. And we wanted our website to sound honest, up-to-date, and real. But most importantly, we wanted a tone of voice that was affirmative, sincere, and empowering. One of the ways we implement our tone of voice is through the active voice, in using short sentences that get straight to the point. For example, on our website, we've put, we're honest about diversity and inclusion. Our mission is to make the tech industry fairer for everyone. We want people to feel like they can overcome their obstacles when they're using our site. We want to foster a sense of boldness to challenge the status quo. And we want people to feel like our website is a safe space to tell it like it is.
We used the Pantone website to find colour schemes for our site. And finally, we found 4 schemes we thought would make our site look trustworthy and engaging. We eventually decided on the Intrigue colour palette, which evokes a feeling of being hopeful and vibrant, whilst also being quirky and dependable. At first, we tried using colour blocks to separate the content, but it seemed to make the pages look a bit flat and a bit too much. So we used the colours as accents for buttons and links against a solid white background. And choosing fonts was an opportunity to make the site look modern and fresh, but we wanted to make sure that we chose fonts that were clear and easy to read in order to meet Service Standard number 5, which covers accessibility. Out of the 2 font pairings, we liked Rubik and Carla on the left, which felt less formal and more welcoming for our users. When applied to our own site, we thought they looked friendly and relatable. So we used Rubik for headings and subheadings and Kala for the body text.
After finalizing the branding, fonts, and color scheme for our website, we started creating our interactive prototype using Wix Website Builder. This is our homepage. From here, users can directly look for a company for which they want to leave review by using the search button. Clicking the search button, the user is redirected to a page where they can find some basic information about the company they are looking for, but also a button to leave review. But before leaving feedback, the user needs to sign in first. We have come to know from our research that users don't like it when they are forced to log into a site before they can use it. That's why in our site, we let the user use the site without logging in unless they want to leave feedback. This registration page on the right-hand side appears when users want to leave review for a company for the first time. They have to complete this registration form in order to proceed forward. The information requested in this page is necessary as we want to track the demographics of users. It is worth mentioning that based on our user research, we have minimized the information collected.
Once login is completed, users can leave reviews for a company. This may be about their recruitment experience or their experience relating to diversity and inclusion whilst employed at a company. We welcome reviews from all ethnicities as long as it relates to diversity and inclusion. There is an option to select user type to help distinguish between users. And based on user research and feedback, we've set the user as anonymous by default. A user can rate the company on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest score in terms of diversity. And they can also tick a box to be contacted by the company if they wish to respond to the review. This is the company review page, and here the users can look for the details of a specific company by using the text box and search button, or they can directly select a company from a list of most popular companies to get details of that company. And this is where users can see more in-depth details about a company. We've thought about displaying a company's diversity and inclusion details at a granular level, and the stars represent an overall average diversity and inclusion rating of a company based on reviews provided by users. Based on user research, we've included details of company policies. The reviews left by users will show whether these policies are actually being adhered to. And they'll also help reveal whether a company is hiring diverse talent and whether those employees are staying and actually being promoted within a company. Also here, we've included gender pay reporting. And once we've generated enough reviews, our aim is to use the data to try and create a diversity and inclusion report with granular level details about each company.
The goal of usability testing was to test the ease of use, validate the prototype, gather unbiased user opinion, and get insight to create a better user experience. According to the user, the best feature of the site is the minimal click to do what you want. They like the appearance. They said it was decent, straightforward, and does the job. They thought our value might be simplicity and transparency. They rated our concept and site 7 out of 10. Yay! Which gave us a quantitative measurement. we got insight to create a better user experience. After submitting a review, they said, usually the button is grayed out with a button asking if you would like to go back to the homepage. They thought there should be a separate place to employers to log in for anonymous replies and respond to the feedback. They said a call to action is what gives an incentive for people to leave reviews and seeing what has been done with the information. They wanted to know what had changed as a result of the site. They want to see a section on policies, statistic, and interaction with policymaker. This valuable feedback, this is valuable feedback because it's something we can iterate on in our design.
Our team reflections and next steps. So some of the challenges that we faced were that it did take us a couple of weeks to get used to various personalities and to gel as a team. But through feedback and reflection, we came to better understand ourselves and each other, and it greatly improved our teamwork. During the project, we experimented with Balsamiq, Marvel, Figma, and Wix. It was quite challenging to create the prototype, given that we'd never used those tools before. And also, the final interactive prototype required database connections, which were quite difficult to make. And then agreeing on a name that we liked also proved quite challenging. But what we enjoyed is that working on our brand, it was a creative process and it was really welcome in the midst of an intense 3 sprints. The team did a great job of producing a better prototype using Wix, and the insights that we got from the research and the usability tests really drove our sprints forward and helped shape our website with features that users actually needed.
Our future plan is to provide website adhering to the service standards to provide the best experience for all our users. We felt that we have made service standard number 4, make the service simple to use through the design process and usability test. But this is an area that would be under continuous development. For service standard number 5, make sure everyone can use the service. We would like to conduct usability tests with people that have a variety of accessibility needs and consider whether we need to create an offline provision. Our vision for the website is to make it a one-stop shop for diversity and inclusion information. We have a large backlog on our Kanban board, but the next priority items in scope would be to include a blog space for successful Black candidates to share their stories, a section for employers to sign up and respond to feedback, a news and event space to advertising training, boot camps, and career fairs in one space. From this bootcamp, I have learned about agile ways of working, different roles and responsibilities in an agile team, and many new tools. This bootcamp has helped me in building my confidence to work in tech industry as I don't have any prior relevant experience. Through multiple feedback and reflection, I am now an active listener. This bootcamp has made me realize that I have an ability to ask good questions. These 2 skills will help me in capturing user experiences in future. I also enjoyed the essence of collaboration in our teamwork. While working as an UX designer in this bootcamp, I realized my love and interest for UX design and want to pursue it as a career.
Throughout the bootcamp, I've learned a lot about agile ways of working in a team. My main takeaways, however, would be to let the users define the product and not be afraid to iterate on the design if you gather new insights. I've learned that retros are a great opportunity to improve your sprint planning and using Kanban methods to deliver quickly and often. I'm looking for user research roles. Out of the 2 roles I played, I think being a user researcher for me fits my core skills, which are being a good listener and knowing the next steps to take.
For me, the bootcamp was a great opportunity to learn about Agile in a practical way. It was good for my confidence and to get back into the swing of work as I was made redundant at the start of the pandemic. My main realizations were that I'm creative with some good ideas. I've worked in an analytical role for so long. Being creative is something that I've really enjoyed, along with the collaborative teamwork. And the roles of UX designer and business analyst are what interest me most.
Agile Bootcamp was a rewarding experience for me. It helped me get out of my comfort zone and get over cultural and language boundaries. This on the personal level. On the professional level, learn all about the new tools and concepts in Agile and all the roles in the tech industry that I had no idea that it exists out there. Exploring different roles and practices throughout the project sprint was challenging, but an amazing learning experience for me, especially service design, which motivate my strategic thinking by taking over all perspective of our project and understanding users and identify who they are and what their needs. So definitely service design is the role I'm planning to pursue as a career choice. As Frank Herbert said, there is no real ending. It is just the place where you stop the story. Here we place our stop and would like to thank all of you for being here today, and we are happy to take any questions. Thank you.
I will be a round of applause. Oh, well done. I will fangirl all over you all later. For now, I'm clapping even if you can see. I'm seeing loads of really lovely words. Thank you all. That was a great presentation. This is such a great example of show and tell with equal and brilliant input from the whole team. Congrats. Awesome job. Great case. Well done, team recruitment. A wonderful information show and tell with the wonderful addition of your personal. Loads of really beautiful words and brilliant feedback. Thank you so much to all of our wonderful guests. I will start with the questions now because I know that we are tight on time. So I will let you all read later when we save the script and cry at your leisure, because or else I will start crying, and I've already cried today. So I will start the time for questions. Here we go. So Stephen has asked, so just a bit of context about Q&A. I have written down all of the questions and they're all on the queue as well. We will answer 2 of them live, and then we will be answering the rest of them later on after the other team has presented as well. So Stephen has asked, how will you discern if the company is bad at giving feedback to all candidates versus bad at giving feedback to candidates of color?
So the purpose of the site really is to give the candidates the voice, and it's through generating reviews on our site that we're hoping that's going to reveal the true nature of a company. So rather than relying on companies to give feedback, our reviews will show actually what is the company putting it into practice. So it's almost like reverse influencing. So we're aiming to influence the recruiters by giving the candidates a voice on one platform that could potentially influence their brand and reputation. I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in on that one. No? Okay, next question.
That was quick. Might be able to pick up one more. So Kirsten has said, this is such a great presentation, team recruitment. I'd be interested in which of the tools or techniques you found. One, most mind-blowing, i.e. surprised you at how useful it was. and 2, most joyful. So more about the bootcamp and the learning process.
Peter, did you want to start with the tools? UX master.
Yeah, of course. In this bootcamp, we have learned many new tools, like from where to start, I don't know, like from Miro, Trello, and Figma, and Wix also. These are the main basic tool we have learned. So I found a very useful Miro, because this is the place where we did all our brainstorming, we put all our ideas and everything. And Trello also, where we define all our sprint backlogs and define our task list, how to do it and what will be the outcome, that helped us in achieving all our sprint goals. And finally, if in concerning with design, we liked actually Figma and Wix. We already have mentioned that in Figma is it took quite a long time to learn this new tool Figma, because it's new. It's a new tool, and it's to learn everything all about this new tool. It was really time taking, but we managed to learn those things. And we faced a problem because of we were using some one free version which did not support us to make it an interactive prototype. That's why we use Wix to make it an interactive prototype. So all these tools really helped us in developing our final product. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think I'll just finish off with the most joyful. For me, it was when we were completing an exercise to do storyboards when we were developing our idea, and we all did our own storyboards, and then we cut them up and put them all together, and it was just great the way that we kind of, each one of us filled in the gaps that the other one had missed to create a complete story for our user journey. So that was definitely a joy for me.
Thank you for the brilliant answers. And thank you all, every guest, for their brilliant questions as well. We've got all of them, so we'll be answering them after Team Exposure has presented their show and tell. Thank you so much, Team Recruitment. You've smashed it. Well done. So Team Exposure, you are up. Good luck, not that you need any.
Good morning, and welcome to Team Exposure's final show and tell. During this ceremony, you can expect to learn about who we are with a bit of background on each one of us, some context into the project we completed, the user research which informed our project, how we developed the product, and we'll also give you a summary and some future iterations for the product. So, I'm Emil. I have a journalism degree and 2 years of experience of marketing and advertising under my belt. On this project, I focused mainly on user experience. I was a content designer, and I also did some user research. Following on from this project, I decided I want to pursue a career in content design. I discovered I have a passion for communicating user needs and going through the process of discovering what they want and how they want it.
Hello, my name is Rose. I have background in business and fashion innovation and keen about sustainability. And out of curiosity, I completed a software development program. I aspire to design solutions to solve problems. And on this project, I took the roles of business analyst, service design, and user researcher. I'm keen to be a service designer. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Olubukola. About 10 years ago, with a background in pharmacy, I fell in love with health tech. Over the years, this has developed into a passion and even a collaboration with the World Health Organization involving health tech transformation. At this bootcamp, I took on the roles of Agile business analyst and user researcher as it matched my investigative and inquisitive personality. Afterwards, I'll be looking to work as a business analyst in health tech and then a product owner.
Hi, I'm Tanaka. I have a background in customer service and IT support. On this project, I took on the role of UX design, business analyst, and agile delivery management. I'll be pursuing a career in user research as I'm extremely curious about people and keen to help solve problems and help build better services and products.
Hi, my name is Aishatu. My background is in communications and business strategy. During this project, I took on the roles of a UX designer, a delivery manager, and a service designer. I'll be working as a service designer in industry as I'm endlessly curious, especially about people, making life better for those around, and have the capacity to visualize several moving parts and fit and make sure they fit to make a whole phenomenal thing.
So here's some context for you on the challenge we took on during the bootcamp. So from the research completed by Diverse and Equal last year, they discovered 3 main themes which enforce barriers of entry for Black people in the tech industry. These were lack of exposure, lack of representation, and recruitment bias. From an exposure point of view, they found that Black people who aren't connected with the tech sector are unaware of how to get into the industry. We were given the task of coming up with a solution to this by developing a product that would provide them with the exposure that they lacked. Further research gave us the following statistics. So 35% of 18 to 24-year-olds were never given any information about tech careers at school or college. The UK jobless rate for young Black people rose by 1/3 in the past 12 months. And 74% of Black people do not think that careers in tech are likely to be some of the most future-proof. We were then able to put together a knowledge board of things which we knew, things which we thought we knew, and what we didn't know, to see the gaps in our current knowledge and where we could discover more to better address the problem. We then put together an as-is user journey map, which gave us an idea of how the journey goes for people trying to connect to the industry. We could talk about this from our perspective as experienced Black people who haven't made our way into the industry, but have been inquisitive to find out how. From the opportunities we identified from the as-is service map, we decided to focus on 16 to 18-year-olds, as this was the age that they made pivotal career decisions. They also have agency to make decisions, as opposed to younger people. This strategy would allow us to tackle the problem at the root. After establishing that we were going to target 16 to 18-year-olds, we were able to frame it as a how might we question. So, how might we inform as well as expose young Black people to the tech industry, specifically non-technical roles? We know the best way to give information, especially to a younger audience, is through interactive stuff. So that gave us a good lead to follow in terms of direction on what kind of products we were going to develop for the users.
From our initial interviews, our findings supported what we had found in our desk research, that our users are unaware of non-technical roles in the industry. User C3 said, "Sorry, I don't know much about IT. I think roles like coding and software programming come to mind." We were also able to identify a current pain point of our users when they use platforms like Google and YouTube to search for information regarding their future careers. User A2 said because they both offer a breadth. Sometimes they are not specific to what you're looking for. It doesn't pinpoint the exact answer to what your question is. They are not as specific as they could be. We use the double diamond framework in guiding our innovation process in this project, from discovering the problem to defining the problem, developing a solution, and then delivering the solution.
We came up with many ideas using the Crazy Eights tool. We were sure not to restrict our reach by considering non-digital ideas too. We had the idea for a TikTok campaign with industry practitioners creating content to attract our target audience. We thought about making a small booklet that could be easily distributed, that young people could engage with to see the different profiles of jobs in the industry. We even thought about a role-playing video game where a user could play a day in the life of a UX designer, for example. The feasibility value matrix helped us plot our ideas to ensure we move forward with the most viable within the resources we had, considering times and skills. We grouped them together with common themes, and we noticed that a number of ideas held the commonality of aligning personal traits and interests with skills needed in the industry. And so the Job Match project was born.
After our dot voting, we created a wireframe and we settled on the idea of a website, as it was something that was realistic and could be produced in a short space of time. We decided to create a few pages and ideas on what those pages would look like. We created the job profile, landing page, account page, and the quiz element that we had mentioned during our brainstorming. And we used this as a basis for our sprint one to qualify whether our idea was suitable.
On starting the Agile working process for the project, our work was formatted across 3 sprints, each one lasting 2 weeks. Here you see some high-level summary of what we worked on during each sprint. So we kicked off with a quick prototype and some user research. And in sprint 2, we went on to the first iteration of our job match quiz and some usability testing for the website as well. And in sprint 3, we went on to further iterate on the quiz to make it even more robust and updated our prototype onto Figma.
Across the 3 sprints, we conducted 11 interviews with users. Here's a breakdown of the participants we interviewed and who tested our product. Their identifiers have been anonymized.
So here's...
Fed by initial research, we created a prototype for our user testing. We created an interactive prototype using Weebly. We wanted to qualify on whether or not this was something suitable for young people and if it was something that they would utilize throughout their career journey.
And so our initial user research was incredibly fruitful. It provided us with rich feedback that helped us understand what to prioritize in our design. We received a lot of affirmation for many of the features of our initial prototype, with special love for the job matching quiz element and possible mentorship. And here's a quote from user A1 saying, "It is a good website. Like, I've just been looking at the quiz page and I really like that idea."
3 out of 4 users in our initial interviews embraced this job match concept as it addressed their current pain point of not receiving personalized feedback. User C1 said, "I like the quiz page on the website. The concept is a good inclusion."
The user journey was mapped out from our user's perspective, from continuous iterations compiled from the interviews responses during our research and usability testing processes. For instance, our user action started by going into Google to find out information about course they want to study in uni. Our user arrived at the touch point, a website called Student Room, which they used to search for more course options. At this point, our user feels pensive and is thinking what to do with all the information at their fingertip. Our user's thought is that, I think I know what I want to study at uni, but still wants to find out more information about prospect of a job and the salary. So the assumption is that the user knows what they want to study at uni, and the user still searched for more threads and overwhelmed with so many threads of information. The user was feeling it has information overload with too many threads to filter through. Following on from there, our user found Team Exposure's link and found out about careers in tech, which does not require coding. So our user was very surprised, feeling really surprised, and took the quiz and completed it. So the user thinks, I don't know if I have other career options. And the assumption is that the user completed the quiz and understood all the questions on our website. Finally, our user was matched to a job role that his skills matched, and our user was surprised and really happy and feeling amazed as he didn't know that they would be able to match a job in the tech industry. And thank you. So to carry out our project, we used, in the process of developing our quiz, we used various tools to understand our users' experience when using our website. A SWOT analysis was carried out to identify challenges and opportunities that we could incorporate into our project to ensure we have working website that reflects our users' story. We converge and diverge and organize as the scope of our ideas was getting wide, considering how we could bring all the ideas and insights to have a project that is holistic and solves the pain points of our user. Important of all, to deliver a website that is ready and one that our user can use, and a product that meets service standards assessments. We carried out persona to understand our user and to adapt our research to their needs. So our persona is Mary. She is writing her A-levels and she used Google to search for career options. She's heard about our jobs in tech and is familiar with software engineering and development, but has never heard about jobs in non-tech related roles. So Mary would like to have career matching tools. Mary is frustrated that some terms were used in a vague way in the context of the quiz question, e.g., for example, trends. And we also produce a service map, and is the process that connects our user experience with the quiz website that we have delivered. We use service map to understand our website too, and the eventual output and detail shows all the interaction with our user. It ensures that our products adds value to our user's experience when our quiz is completed. We bear in mind the service standard analysis to ensure we meet the requirements. And our users' story and criteria acceptance. There has a 16-year-old user. I want to access the quiz so that I can match to a tech job role. Given that I am 16 and 18-year-old user, when I complete the quiz, then I should get a match to a role. And the acceptance criteria is defined by a boundary that we know when done looks like.
So we completed desk research and drew from our bootcamp experience, where we had guest speakers of different disciplines, to list some non-technical roles and the criteria needed to fulfill them. We used that knowledge to inform the questions we were going to ask for our quiz. So upon answering, they could be matched to a job role. We completed further desk research as we looked into Career Karma, an online organization which provides information, tools, and support to help you get into a tech career. It is more geared towards adults making a career switch, but it was a good reference point for us to use for our quiz. Through their quiz, they match individuals to a persona, which can then help you find which tech discipline you'd be suited to. As we were now sure that our concept of a job match service was correct, we developed the quiz as a way to make this happen. We used the attributes required to fulfill the roles we researched to inform our questions. We merged that with our understanding of 16 to 18-year-olds, their behavior and their interest, and used the Hemingway app to make sure the wording of the question was suitable for their age, which was grade 10 and 11. We use the Likert scale for users to respond to the questions, as it's known to be one of the most efficient when it comes to quantitative data. It's easy to draw conclusions, reports, and results from the responses, as people are not forced to choose either or. Instead, it allows them to be neutral should they choose. Should they totally agree with the questions, we can see where their true passion lies. We figured we only want participants taking a maximum of 30 seconds on each question, and 12 questions would leave a total of 6 minutes. In order for us to retain users' attention span and keep answers as accurate as possible, minimizing dwelling time, a quiz like this that is not so in-depth needed to be under 10 minutes. We knew some roles would require more expertise, interest in specific career areas, so that would reveal which qualities candidates felt strongest about.
We tested out the first iteration of the quiz and received rich feedback with some early pain points in language and compound sentences being identified. So user B2 said, the question about new trends was unclear. Is it fashion trends? While user B4 said, I don't like this, you take an interest in video games and their graphics. That's like two separate questions in one. Therefore, with a view of addressing these pain points of our users, we went back to the point of discovery on the double diamond. Having that divergent thinking and understanding the problems of our users that they had with the quiz itself and its navigation on the website. From our findings from discovery and the help of our product manager, we decided to focus on fixing the language of the quiz, the structure of the sentences, and matching the results of the quiz with a role. And then diverged once again in developing iterations of the original version with clear and enjoyable language suited to our target audience. Simple sentences change from second person to first person, that is you to I, and then conducted a usability testing of these different prototypes of the quiz. We then rejected the quiz language that didn't work and improved on those that work in future spring.
So as part of our user research, when investigating the languages used in the quiz, you can see here how it is that we've iterated on the language in the quiz. The original statement was, you enjoy taking the lead and being the captain. And this is to discern the people who have leadership skills. The alternatives we provided, as you can see, are, I enjoy taking the lead and being the captain. My friends will call me the bossy one, and I would like to own my own company one day. Now, although my friends will call me the bossy one was actually the preferable choice, because of the use of the word my rather than I, it was considered better to be in keeping with the other iterations and maintain it from the first person.
And continuing from refining the questions, user B thinks being a captain is more sports related, and user A said, just because you take the lead doesn't necessarily mean you want to be a leader. You can remove you can reward it to, I enjoy being the captain of a team. And the final version we decided to use for our quiz is, I enjoy taking the lead, removing the compound noun and focusing on solving our user pain points on the quiz.
Another interesting example to highlight was this question. You're often the first to spot new trends. This was a question that was linked to their creativity and curiosity skills. We had initial feedback on the vague language trends, and so we created alternatives to see what other users thought of the word trends. Also, we thought that young people use social media, especially TikTok. So we decided to replace trends with TikTok in some alternatives. We actually thought that was a genius idea, you know, but when we tested these alternatives with our users, they said, the middle one absolutely shouldn't be there. That's the TikTok phrase. That just didn't make sense to me at all. Another user said, nobody says I was on TikTok before most of my friends. Ha ha, he laughed. And so we decided to go with what our users wanted. It was, I followed the latest trends. That was the final version. This still requires further testing, however, because most users who tested this question the second time were males.
So here you can see the current quiz format and how it appears on our website. As you can see, no long-winded questions and a very simple format for users to read and respond.
Another valuable quote that helped direct our priorities during the sprints was this one. Well, I would have expected to see what I got for my role. You can't just leave me hanging. Which one am I? That's what I was expecting to see. And so we ensured that the latest iteration of the quiz had questions that were directly linked to a job role.
Here is an example of how a user would interact with the quiz. If users agree in response to the creatively inclined questions, then they will be matched with the role of UX designer, which requires more creative know-how.
Following on from our research in Sprint 1, 2, and 3, we decided to create our final prototype using Figma. We wanted to make the quiz the main and prominent thing that users see when they go on our website. From the research, we know that they did not like the idea of having to log in or sign up to a website as the first interaction. They preferred to explore the website before creating any account or committing to anything else. So from our homepage, users can take the quiz and see the quiz as the prominent feature, and then use the buttons at the top to navigate the website, and also use our social media channel links at the top. So once the customer takes the quiz will then open up on the same tab on the same web page. We know from experience that they do not like the idea of it opening on a separate tab or a brand new window. So from here, they would fill in their details, such as their name and email, so that these results can be emailed to them, regardless of whether or not they sign up to an account, and they can answer the questions. Once they answer the questions, they'll be taken to a separate page with the results. As you can see on the left-hand side, they would be matched with job roles, and from there they can find out more information, such as the qualifications, day-to-day, salary potential, and there will be also social media channels on there for people that they can contact or people they can follow to find out more information. From there, they'll also be able to save those job profiles onto their account where they can view at a later date. And this is what you can see on the right-hand side. So from their account, they can view the job profiles that they've been matched to, and they also have the option to save other job profiles that they encounter from our website to refer back to throughout their career journey. So for our teamwork, we conducted daily Zoom stand-ups We work together in sessions, whether that's in pairs or in small group. This allowed us to have support and to be able to bounce ideas around each other. We also created a Kanban board on Trello. We use Miraboard for updates and to organize our work, especially our user research feedback. We're also being flexible in roles to manage capacity. So we allowed people to double up on roles. So work 2 people in 1 role, so allow everyone to be exposed to the different roles within an Agile team. And we also participated in team building games. This was to further build our bond and to allow us to decompress after a long week. So we faced many challenges throughout this project. One of them was learning a new methodology as a team, prioritizing the feedback to act on within a sprint, recruitment of users for qualitative feedback. As we're working with young people, we had to take into consideration safeguarding measures. And we also had to adapt to changing business requirements. As you know, we originally wanted a full-scale website, but had to scale it back down and focus mainly on the quiz element of our website.
We had a lot of successes in the process of this project, and some of them are being able to select an appropriate amount of activities per sprint, establishing a sustainable pace, ingrained Agile ceremonies in our project, understanding and being able to implement industry standards, and finally establishing good team dynamics.
And so for future iterations, we've already got a lot of ideas based on the desk research and the user research that we've already completed. One of the big ones is content design and making sure it's consistent across the entire website, improving the visual aspect of the website as well, ensuring that it's branded in a way that is going to be acceptable for our users. We also got feedback for a terminology or jargon buster, because the language in tech can be quite specific. And if you're trying to expose young people to that industry, it's important that they understand the kind of language that's used in industry. We also know that we have some iterations where we're going to work on the website being accessible and safe, as we are going to be holding user data. And we're looking to develop content that is relevant to parents and the adults that work with young people. So careers advisors, for example, the way that we would want to communicate with them will differ to the way that we'll be communicating with our target audience. So as we come to the end of our show and tell, we would love to share some reflections with you on our experience of the bootcamp and the experience of working as an Agile team. So for me, one of the main reflections I have is that all roles are vital in an Agile working environment. And understanding the team dynamics earlier on in the working process is like a magic pill for productivity, for efficiency, but most especially for creating the best product possible. Because if we all understand each other and we all understand how we feed in to what we're creating, we can ensure that it's the most responsive and most relevant thing for our users. And I also noted that I have a talent for systems thinking and troubleshooting. And this is why I am absolutely clear that I'm going to work as a service designer in industry.
One of my learnings has been the value placed on people over processes. I have come from a background where it was the other way around, and now learning this principle of the Agile Manifesto of putting that the check-ins and the check-outs, the sprint planning, everyone being aligned and working towards goals. It has been a great learning for me. And also that emphasis on bringing my authentic self, knowing that I am enough, knowing that everyone in my team has something to bring. So I look forward in the industry to focusing on that unique contribution that each person brings to my team, their energy and their ability to solve problems over every other thing.
For me, one of the most important learnings was the importance of iteration and not seeing your work as precious. Particularly as a content designer, you must know that your product may get torn apart. You may have to iterate. You may have to completely transform what you're working on. And as hard as that may seem, you just have to accept it in order to give the users the product that they need. The other one would probably be to take a depth over breadth approach. I recognize how important it is when it comes to sprint planning, rather than try and use as many tools as possible, just for the sake of showing that you know how to use so many tools, focus on one thing and make that as robust as possible to give your product quality over quantity.
My learning from the bootcamp is also from the Agile principle, because I actually buzz when it comes to detail, but it's good to learn that simplicity, transparency, and self-organizing and prioritizing technique is good to shape productivity. And also the appreciation of transferable skills, as I'm able to use skills from other projects I've done and life skills on this diverse tech. And also I'm looking, and also the opportunity as a stepping stone into a career in tech.
One of my takeaways from this project is the importance of teamwork, and that just because you are assigned a team does not mean that you're working as a team, and that it's a conscious effort to be constantly communicating and collaborating, because without that, your work will never look the same and your work will always show that that teamwork is lacking. And the next one was to be open-minded, and that's being open-minded with your ideas, being open-minded with your tools, and being open-minded in general, just because with Agile, everything is constantly changing. Your ideas will never stay the same, and what you use and what you do is prone to change. So you could wake up tomorrow, user research, go to sleep, wake up the next day, an Agile delivery manager. So just be constantly open-minded to what it brings. And then the last thing is that there's a place for everyone in an Agile team, regardless of your qualifications, your background, or your work experience. There's always something that everybody can contribute when working within an Agile team. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. We'd love to respond to your feedback, questions, and comments now.
Yay! Clapping, so much clapping. Flailing Kermit, that's my vibe. Got some wonderful feedback coming in, about, especially as well about the reflections. People really enjoyed the reflections and the learnings that you took from the boot camp, complementing your show and tell. Yeah, just everything. Nothing beats feedback from young people. I completely agree with that as well. So I will start the time. I've got 2 questions here. So from an anonymous attendee, of all the things that you've done during this project, what did you find the most challenging and what did you find the most enjoyable?
I'm happy to kick off. I'm sure everyone's going to have something to say. We'll be swift. For me, the most challenging thing was not wanting to fix everything. And that was a personal challenge for me, because learning about new roles and how they work together was already a challenge. And when we were building up as a team, before we got to the point where we're basically family, there were times where I just wanted to tell everyone to go away and let me just fix it. And that it wouldn't have been efficient anyway, and I probably wouldn't have fixed it. So that was sort of like the biggest challenge for me, to be able to step back and just trust that everyone on the team wanted to do the best that they could and produce the best product. And most enjoyable for me, I think, for me, it's probably because I just love learning about all the different tools and just all the different sort of like tips and tricks, and having a go at just creative activities to just build up ideas and to realize that this could be my job is just been incredible. It's just been incredible for me. So yeah, then I'm sure someone else got something to say.
I'll take the most enjoyable. Someone else can take the most challenging. So the most enjoyable was, for me, like I said about bringing my authentic self, was the fact that all my life, I have been seen as being very inquisitive. And there was a time I gave them an example of my husband saying that I could ask a dead person, why are you dead? And so I thought at a point in my life that this was not something that could take me anywhere. Like I needed to tone down on my questioning. But I have a background in health and research work and all that. But then finding a role where I could channel all this questioning and investigation was like my aha moment. And so that was so far my most enjoyable. Someone can take most challenging.
I think
Yeah,
most
hi.
challenging.
Oh.
Do you want to go, Rose? Go ahead.
You go.
Well, most challenging for me was probably what I mentioned before, that you can think you have a product in mind or an idea in mind which you want to give to the users and you think they'll appreciate, but when you give it to them, they don't want that. So you have to go and iterate and change. So I think taking that on was quite tough. But yeah, it's something that like Rachel mentioned, you got to learn from it and apply that moving forward.
Okay, for me, the most challenging, I would say, is streaming down all the research ideas that we had, because we worked so hard as a team and we were waking up midnight, seeing each other on Miro. Thank God we cannot really communicate. And we had vast information, and streaming it down was quite challenging, but it was enriching because we're able to understand the terminologies and all the expectation of working in Agile.
Thank you so much for your brilliant answers. I've got one last question, which is, what techniques did you use to recruit users for your project? And were there any other ways of recruiting you wish you could have tried?
Yeah, I'll take that. We used the snowballing method. So it was people we knew in our network, and then we tell the other person and tell the other person. So that's how we recruited. The second part of that question, what was it?
So were there any other ways of recruiting you wish you could have tried?
Yeah, of course. We thought we would have liked to go on social media and recruit, go on TikTok, look for them there if they're there. Yeah, so we would have liked to use social media to recruit. Emil, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, definitely. We would have liked to do some guerrilla research, actually talking to people, when you see them in a coffee shop or, in those kind of environments. But because of the pandemic and the restrictions, we weren't able to do that. So that made it tough. That would have been like really organic, to meet someone, just talk to them, have a conversation about how they feel about the quiz, etc. But we had to do it in a different way. Tanaka, do you want to also answer?
That's all that we have time for. Thank you so much for your brilliant answers. Thank you so much all the guests for their brilliant questions. Well done, Teeny Exposure. You absolutely smashed it. Well done. I'll hand over to Annette to lead us to the close.
So excited. Well done, everybody. Thank you for all the attendees for your time coming today. I'm glad that you got to see the brilliance that we've been witnessing for the past 15 weeks. So just thank you so much for coming. We have Collaboration Week that's coming up, week commencing the 13th. So reach out to us about that. Check out our social media channels. We'll be talking about this event. We're going to be uploading a video. We're going to be putting out clips. All of our students are graduates now, are looking for work. So if you're interested in hiring them or know anybody who is, contact us. Yeah, thank you so much. Really exciting, and speak to you all soon.